All right, well, let's start standing. Seeing as we're on the tall camera, let's start with that. Okay, so if you start at one end of your mat, so you've got a long runway in front of you, set the feet a good hip width apart, and then inhale both arms up to the ceiling, interlace the fingers, and then exhale, let the arms reach up, the legs reach down, but keep that exhale going till there's no more that you can give me. And then just hold the breath momentarily, relax the effort of everything, and then go again. Inhale, stretch up tall, and then hold the stretch, exhale till there's no out breath, so the waist pulls in, the ribs narrow. Pause the breath just momentarily, release the effort, and then one last time. Inhale as you stretch up tall, hold the stretch, exhale all the air out, and then let everything release back and down. Bring your chin forward to your chest and roll forward to whatever is a comfortable position for you. And really take hold of that word. So really whatever feels comfortable. There's no prizes for getting to the floor if it's hurting your back. So once you've found some hanging position, and even if you can get your hands flat on the floor, can you hang so that they're in the air? And then just let your arms make small circles, teeny tiny. Because of the age group online, you'll remember the old days of money. So think of a 10p piece and that kind of circle. And then there should be almost a point where you don't have to think about it. The arms will just keep going. It's a really good way just to release out any shoulder tension. Now, slowly, mindfully, pause the arms, soften the knees, and take your time to restack the spine all the way up. When you come all the way up, take your hands onto the back of your pelvis. So you're kind of cupping a little bit, the small of your back, a little bit, the hips. If that's not good on your shoulders, then it's fine just to bring your hands to the front of your pelvis. So from here, I want you to shift the weight forward into your toes, bring the pelvis forward, the very thing I'm normally telling you not to do. And then from here, I want you to lift. And I want you to think of your chest, that area just below your collarbones, and really take that up toward the ceiling. Now, for those of you that have your hands behind you, start to draw the elbows towards you. So you have a chest that's going up and trying to run parallel with the ceiling, and then elbows pulling in, which should open up the chest. If you're on the front of the hips, you can still work the elbows back. You still want the lift of the chest, but then pay attention to your neck, because to lift your chest, you may have just thrown your head backward. So see if you can release some of that. And then let all of this release. Bring your right arm up to the ceiling. Take a big inhale as you reach up, and then exhale as you side bend over. Hang out there. And now in the right side, take me 2 or 3 breaths into the side of the ribs. While you're doing that, can you extend your right elbow, reach through your right wrist, extend every single finger on that right hand. Can you press weight down into your right foot? And then when you're ready, slowly come back up and out of it. Take your left arm up. And then same thing, side bend over to the right. And then once you've fixed your side bend, check in for me, no rib thrust, trying to take out any rotation in the motion. Extend your left elbow, your wrists, your fingers. Breathe a little deeper into the left side, the side that's being opened, and then press down into the left foot, just extending this entire line of tissue. And then slowly come up and out of it. And then bring both arms out in front, interlace your fingers so you're looking at the palms of your hands, and then turn them through so you're looking at the back of your hands. Then as you start to twist to the right, I want you to take this from the lowest point, your ankles. So if you think of the center of your ankles, can you begin to turn them to the right? Then of course the shins try to turn right, the knees try to turn right, the thigh bones try to turn right, the pelvis turns right, the waist turns right. At some point, that left knee is probably going to bend. Let it do that. The ribs turn, the shoulders turn, the neck turns, the skull turns, the eyes turn. And now stay into your twist and take me a couple of breaths here. And then when you're ready, can you come back from the top? Bring your eyes center, start to bring your head back to the left. Your shoulders join in, chest, ribs come back, waist comes back, pelvis comes back, thighs, shins, ankle, and then you start the journey to the left. Just letting the right knee bend whenever it needs to, but see if you can wring out each and every part that's turning before you let the piece above go. When you're looking over your shoulder, remember, even your eyes can swivel to the left, and then take a couple of deep breaths in and out here. And then slowly return yourself back and to center. In center, shift your weight over onto your left leg and pause when you bring up that right leg. Remember, I want you to think of pulling the hip up to try and bring the leg up without needing to bend the knee initially. So can you do that 3 or 4 times for me? See if you can step into one leg and pull the other leg straight up. And then shift your weight into the right leg. Do the same thing, or whichever's going to be your standing leg. And then just check in for toe gripping. Can you balance your weight over the ball and the heel of your foot and allow the toes to rest lightly? Okay, now when you bring that foot down, shift back into the first standing leg and now bend the right knee up. Is it possible in any way to hold on to the back of that leg? All right, so if it's not, because some of you I can't, the light's quite dark, I can't see. If it's not, then keep the leg lower with a bent knee. Try not to round yourself too forward into it. I don't want you to strain your back. Okay, now you're going to see where could that leg extend to and bend to while you stand on one leg. So this would be perfectly acceptable to extend and bend here. Throwing your back under the bus is what's not acceptable. Okay, now the next time you've straightened your leg at whatever height you're working at, pull back the ankle and push out into the heel. Now slowly begin to lighten the grip of your hands. Can you hold your leg there for 3, 2, 1, and bring it back down. Shift your weight into the right leg, bring up the left leg. If it's possible to hold on to the back of the thigh, go for it. If not, keep it really low. And then 3 or 4 times, extend the leg and bend. So this part working on the strength of your standing leg to hold you while this one is moving. And then when you extend the leg, letting go slowly, whoa, and trying not to fall over. I'm going to blame it on the wind that's blowing through the studio door. Now I'm laughing, I can't get my balance at all. So you're going to try to keep the leg there, extend it out for 3, 2, 1, and then bring the leg back and down. Okay, last standing thing before we come to the floor. So can you step one leg back behind you onto the balls of your feet, ball of your foot? You don't want to do this. Don't take a great big step back. Make it quite little. Okay, find your hip hinge and then come back up. So a couple of times, dig right into your hip joint and you should feel the change in that joint. It's like there's a big enough crease there that your fingers can swim into it. You need to feel for yourself that you're not doing this and just rounding the upper body. So can you immediately think of your derriere going back? Okay, so the next time you have your hip hinge, hold there. And now this time, can you bring that back leg off the floor? And it could be like this, really low. You might be able to get enough balance to seesaw the upper body down a little bit more to bring the leg up a little bit more. push out into the back heel, make the lifted leg really active, just the way you did when you held it in front of you, and then bring the foot back down. Okay, so take the other foot back. Okay, and then a couple of times hinge and come up, because rarely do we have the same hamstring length on both legs. I know definitely I have one that's a little bit tighter, or maybe have a calf that's a little bit tighter. Okay, Dexter's not impressed with the doors being open because it's absolutely hissing it down now. So the next time you're there, take the leg back behind you. And again, this might be it, or you might be able to seesaw the upper body going down as that back leg comes up. And then with control, find your way back and out of it. All right, then we're going to come down onto all fours. So if you bring yourself down onto your mat, and then bring your shoulders directly over your wrists, all the stuff that you guys know. So I'm just trying to move to the other camera. Okay, so once you're there, just 2 times into the cat stretch for me. So as you exhale, tuck the tail, round up through your back, let your head come down. And then imagine if you were standing to the side of you looking at your back, can you feel whether certain parts of your back would be way more rounded than others? Can you play with taking some of the curve out of some parts and putting more curve into other parts? So for instance, this is what I commonly see, where the upper back is really pushed up and the lower back has barely done anything. And in which case you want to release the tension in the shoulders, the hands, and then see if you can work more of the tuck of the tail. Then reverse out of it, sending your tail to the ceiling, abdominals to the floor, head comes all the way up. And then kind of the same thing here, you want to look to see where are the places that you drop into really easily, where are the places you might need to work on. So for a lot of us, it's the chest that really struggles to come forward to the front edge of your mat and then up the wall in front. So one more time, exhale, see if you can work more into an even round. And when you can't round anymore, inhale, release out of it with the focus on whatever part you feel struggles more to open all the way up. All right, then from here, lay yourself down onto your back and stand your ankles directly underneath your knees, with your knees a hip width apart and then your arms just resting lightly by your side. Okay. And then allow the pelvis to roll back, deepen into the small of your back, and then begin to roll the spine up and off the floor. Once you get there, you guys know where you're at. So the hip joint trying to lift a little bit more, but an awareness of not thrusting the ribs higher than the pelvis, and then exhale and roll the spine down. Okay, so we're going to add some variations, stroke progressions to this. Everything is optional. Do what serves you well. So the first option is to take the right ankle and put it over the left thigh and give just your left leg the work of bringing you back up into bridge. And if that doesn't work for you, stay with both feet. There'll be some other variations coming along in a moment. So same thing on one leg. How does that hip joint open up? How does this side of your back respond? And then use the exhale as you roll down. When you land, change the legs over. Crikey, it's been a long time since I've heard the rain be so ferocious. And then go again, making sure the ankle under your knee, the foot pointing straight ahead as you roll up. Then pay attention to this leg. Is it able to really push that hip crease that you just did the hip hinge on up to the ceiling? And then exhale to roll on down. When you get to the bottom, both feet onto the floor, and then go again, come up into bridge, and then hold here. So can you just fix for me, hip joints to the ceiling, upper back, shoulder blades, that upper part of your back, heavy on the floor, so you're not pushing into the small of your back. If you can still feel that you are, drop down lower, bring more of the ribs to the floor. Okay, from here, pick up both heels and lower them down. When you pick up both heels, I want you to sink into your big toe joint and your baby toe joint. I definitely don't want you to roll to the outer or inner edge of your foot. See if you can balance it out. Okay, now the next time you set the heels down, do the reverse. Stay on your heels and pull off the ball of the foot and the toes and set them down. Pull them back, set them down. Okay, one more time. And then slowly roll the spine back and down. So once you've landed at the bottom, can you set the pelvis into that middle ground where you're trying to get as close to equal length on both sides of your waist between the pelvis and the ribs, equal across the top of the pelvis, so one side is not lifted more to the ceiling than the other. And without changing that, can you bring your right leg up, keeping the knee bent? Take your right hand, place it on the front of the thigh, and just slide the hand up towards the kneecap. You need to be able to get your arm pretty straight. Then look at your shin bone, so your heel is not dropping down. You've got a right angle at the knee. And from now on, your arm is locked here, although your leg will move away from your hand and back towards it. So I want you to start to take the right leg down toward the floor without letting the shape of the knee change at all. Whether you can go to the floor or not is entirely up to you. If there's arching in your back, then don't go all the way down. And when you bring the leg back, if it's kept its shape, you should be able to cup your knee with your hand just the way you were before, or touch your thigh, whatever you were doing. So 2 more. And right now, once you've played with trying to keep the angle of the leg the same, you're also going to make sure the back ribs on this side are not moving away from the floor. The next time your right leg has come back to your right hand, set all of that down. Bring the left leg up. Slide your left hand up your thigh towards your knee. Make sure your shin up and parallel with the floor. Leave your hand stranded in space as the leg moves away from your hand, your foot going toward the floor, and then coming back. And for the next 2, your sole goal is to make sure you don't change the shape of the knee. So the thigh bone moves away from you, comes back to you. Because if you start bending from the knee and lowering the foot, it's not so much of a load for your abdominal wall. Okay, the next time your left leg comes home, now bring the right leg up to join it. So we have a hand on the front of each thigh up towards the knee. Okay, from here, leave your hand, right hand here as the right foot heads toward the floor. Go halfway down, don't go all the way down. And then bring the leg home. Take the left leg halfway down and bring it home. And if halfway down is too stressful on your back, do less. If you need one foot on the floor, go ahead and do it. If you're holding your breath, stop doing that. And if you're gritting your teeth, see if you can keep your mouth slightly open. One more each way. That was a big lie about not working the abdominals, wasn't it? But it's a little bit of a different work. All right, and then hug the knees all the way into you. Now, take both arms to the ceiling, so palms are facing forward, and then reach up for the ceiling, so you feel your shoulder blades come off the floor. When you put them down, spread them wide, as if you could put those outer edges flat down onto the floor. Okay, leave your knees on your chest for a moment. Take your right arm back as far as you don't feel your ribs popping to the ceiling. And then bring it forward. Do the same thing on the left arm. Bring it forward. So a couple more on each side. Just testing the waters, because again, you may have a shoulder that's stiffer than the other one. Now would be the time to recognize that maybe one arm's range of motion needs to be different to the other, and that's okay. Okay, so the next time you have both arms to the ceiling, reset the legs in the same position they were in a moment ago. Now, as you take one leg halfway to the floor, the opposite arm reaches back. And then come home. Leg goes halfway to the floor, opposite arm reaches back, and come home. And you want to imagine that you're sitting there having a conversation with me. If you couldn't talk to me right now, then can you reduce the range of motion until you could? Because breath holding is really unhelpful when the abdominal muscles are doing their best to try and hold everything stable. Last one. And then hug the knees in towards you. All right, so flip onto one side, whichever side you want to do first. And then in the side motion, bend the knees up. Now this week in mat class, we've been working with this 90-degree angle. I don't want you to do that. I want you to move the knees back so you've got more of a 45-degree angle, says the girl who failed her maths exam miserably, but I do know the difference between a right angle and a more diagonal angle. So then you want to bring the top knee a little more forward of the bottom knee. So if you look at the two of them, instead of them lining up, can you make the top one be a little bit further ahead? Take your hand and place it on your pelvis in a way that's comfortable for you, that is not going to allow your pelvis to roll backward to the back edge of the mat. Open the top knee out and close it down. The feet stay together. You may end up kind of rolling the toes away from each other. That's okay. But all we're doing is moving the thigh bone back in the hip socket, not moving the pelvis and the thigh bone as one piece. Okay, now the next time you've moved the leg back, bring it home, join your knees together and lift the top shin bone away from the bottom shin bone so that top foot looks to the ceiling and comes down. So now you get the inward rotation, the complete opposite of what you were doing a moment ago. Okay, last two. Last one. Okay, now from here, turn the top leg out. As it starts to come home, begin to turn it in until the knees touch down. Then start to turn it out until the heels come to meet. Turn it in till the knees touch down. Turn it out till the heels come to meet. Turn it in till the knees touch down. One more each way. Pelvis hasn't moved throughout any of this. Cool. And let it release. Okay, other side. So setting the legs at a 45-degree angle. Stacking the feet up on top of each other. Okay, now making sure that top knee comes a little forward and then monitoring the pelvis so that when you open the top leg, you really get the thigh bone to move and therefore those rotator muscles in your derriere switching on. And it's so common to have one leg that turns out more than the other. So don't try to force something, just watch the pelvis. That's the ideal, that doesn't get to join in at all. Okay, now the next time that you bring the leg down, start to lift the shin bone, the ankle, the foot of the top leg, and let it come down. So you're in this internal rotation and down. Okay, one more. And then as you bring the foot down, let that top knee open. And as it comes down, let the inward rotation happen. So rotating out, heels touch, rotating in, knees touch. And just going from one to the other as smoothly as you can without the pelvis getting to play. Okay, last one each way. And then let it release and turn to your back again. So when you turn onto your back, just check in for me again that you place the feet right now in a way that means you have some natural curve in your lower back. You have to some degree the ribs down onto the floor. Okay, now bring one knee up. You could do the whole hand sliding up again to try and get the leg to sit pretty centered in the hip joint. Bring the other leg up. Okay, shin bones parallel. And then from here, bring your heels together, your knees apart, and then reverse, knees together, heels apart. So same motion, different position. So turning out, turning in. Okay, one more each way. And the next time you have your knees facing away from each other, the heels together, separate the legs and bring them back to sitting a hip width apart. Now let the right leg open to the right without the pelvis changing position. So you have to pay attention to behind you. Don't put more weight into one bum cheek. And when you reach your limit, bring the leg home. Let the other leg, the left leg, open out, but no cascading all your weight into the right side of your pelvis. So we did play a little bit with this in the mat class this week, that sometimes when you go to turn the leg out, if it's stiff, what you'll really do is you'll actually rotate the pelvis because it feels like you've given yourself a little bit more turnout. So whichever leg you're opening, you're trying to sit into the opposite side of the pelvis. Okay, last one. And then hug the knees into you. Okay, from here, rock yourself up to sitting. And then set the heels to the floor, toes to the ceiling. Bring your arms out front, but this time bring the palms to face each other. Okay, take the arms up to wherever is best for you. That means you haven't thrown your back forward. And then sweep them out to the side and bring them home. Okay, 2 more times. Reach up, reach out, come forward. So just for now, I don't want the rib cage to help out. Well, just for now, it's going to be all the way through. Okay, so the next time your arms are forward, hold there. Push with your heels and roll back to a place of control, but preferably not like this where you're just laying on the floor, somewhere where there's a bit of challenge. Then take the arms up toward the ceiling, out toward the side, bring them home. Straighten your right leg, take the arms up to the ceiling, out to the side, bring them home. Straighten your left leg, arms to the ceiling, out to the side, bring them home, and roll up, bending your knees as you go. Good. All right, now stand your feet on the floor and let both knees open to the side. Don't bring the soles of the feet together. Roll back wherever this position will let you go, that is not you lying on the floor, and then let the arms go up, open, come home. Okay, one more. And then come all the way home. Okay, from here, turn on to all fours. The end is nearly in sight. Okay, so in all fours, and some of you may have to take your time to do this, can you bring your right leg forward into that ready, steady, go position? If you can't place the hands flat on the floor, that's actually a bonus. Be more on your fingertips. And if you're still up for doing a little bit more work, don't place any fingertips on the floor, just hold yourself here. Now let the front knee go a little forward, a little back, a little forward, a little back. One more. Okay, now upright your body if you're able to, and interlace the fingers to the back of your head. Now let the front knee go a little forward, little back, little forward, little back. One more time. Good. Now, whatever you need to do to change legs safely. So the right knee tucks underneath you, left leg comes forward. And then fold forward first. Even if you're not putting your fingers on the floor, it's a different load when you're loaded forward to upright. And then 3 times, let the knee go forward, come back, forward, come back. One more time. Good. Then if you can, upright yourself. Bring the hands behind the head, or you could bring arms outside if that's better for you. And then let the knee go forward, come back, forward, come back. One more time. And then see if everyone can get themselves to an upright position with the arms hanging by your side. And then you're going to do your best to bring that front knee to stand underneath your hip joint. Sit yourself back down or off to the side, and then you guys are done.